Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our audience joining us from different time zones. My name is Vidya Jain. I work as a practice lead for healthcare digital software services from Tata Elxsi. And I'm thrilled to welcome you all on this webinar titled Transforming Healthcare with AI, a technical roadmap to innovation, compliance, and metrics. Before we begin, a few housekeeping checks. We have Q&A, so feel free to send in your questions at any time using the Q&A widget in the Bright Talk platform. This session is also being recorded and you will receive a link to the recording in a few days which you can share with your colleagues, family and friends. Before we start, let me provide you a brief overview of Tata Elxsi. Tata Elxsi is the design and engineering arm of the $150 billion Tata Group, recognized for a commitment to innovation and excellence. We are a trusted growth partner for leading medical device, healthcare, and pharmaceutical companies worldwide. Before we move ahead, let me provide some context for today's discussion. In today's webinar, we will be exploring emerging AI applications in pharma, life science, medtech, and other healthcare industries, including automating audit processes, V&V cycle with AI, etc. We will also discuss a few challenges when it comes to AI adoption. How are organizations adapting to regulatory changes, overcoming data related changes, etc. Lastly, we'll touch upon an often overlooked topic, that is matrix. How do we measure the success of AI initiatives? What key metrics should enterprises track to determine whether their AI solutions are delivering value or not? To lead us through today's discussions, we are fortunate to have outstanding panel of speakers. Their wealth of experience and dedication to innovation make them the perfect contributors for this conversation. Joining us, we have Rahul Jain, Head of Validation and Quality at Merck Healthcare. We have Sachin Bhandari, Head of CSV and Qualification Standards at Boehringer Ingelheim. And we have Harshal Sawan, who is the practice head of healthcare digital software services at Tata Elxsi. Their expertise will greatly enhance our exploration of AI in pharma, medtech, and ISV industries in healthcare. So, without further delay, I would like to invite each speaker to introduce themselves and then we can dive into our discussion. I would request Rahul, Sachin, followed by Harshal to introduce themselves. Yeah, Rahul, over to you.
Thank you, Vidya. Thank you for inviting me here to speak on this interesting topic, which is changing the industry. Myself, Rahul Jain, I'm heading validation and quality as a part of DDIT R&D organization for Merck KGaA, Darmstadt, Germany. My role is to manage validation for 60 plus global systems in clinical, regulatory, medical affairs, GLP areas for R&D division of Merck. This is where we also validate and equip all the new technology trends which are upcoming in industry, which can change the business of Merck Healthcare today. So today I'll be sharing some experiences in terms of how we are engaging AI and generative AI in our validation processes and in compliance space. More to come, but over to you, Sachin.
Hi, thanks, Rahul. Hello, everyone. My name is Sachin Bhandari, and I work for Boehringer Ingelheim out of Germany facility. My role currently in Boehringer is I'm the global head for computer system validation and qualification standards. I primarily take care of engineering and technology globally for Boehringer Ingelheim. Technology is something which always excites me, and the immense value and benefit what artificial intelligence brings to our industry is something which is something which I am seeking, learning, and sharing as much as I can. Uh, in BI's world of engineering and technology, we are using AI and generative AI very innovatively to simplify and to reinvent our equipment qualification and computer system validation processes. I'm very excited to be with the likes of Rahul and Harshal, who are doing legendary work in this area, and happy to discuss with you, Vidya. Over to you, Harshal.
Thank you, Sachin. Hello, everyone. I'm Harshal. I work with Tata Elxsi as a practice head for healthcare and software, digital software services. And I predominantly worked with, in my role, right, I work with a large number of medical device OEM companies, life sciences, pharma, as well as ISVs. And given this, right, I have an opportunity to work with niche AI specific healthcare use cases, such as risk prediction in critical care or next gen smart hospitals, etc. So in today's call, I'm looking forward to share some of these experiences and also to learn from some of the experiences with Rahul and Sachin. So looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you so much, Sachin, Rahul, and Harshal, for your introductions. So, without any further delay, let us start with the first base of this webinar, that is innovation. So, I'd like to start with you, Rahul. In context of biopharma industry, how do you envision AI transforming the validation and quality processes? So, if you can provide some specific examples of areas in VQT processes, it can be automation of document reviews, risk assessments, etc. Where do you believe the AI driven solutions could significantly enhance efficiency and accuracy?
Definitely, yeah, very good question. And today, I would say Gen AI is something that now everyone has at their hands. Yeah. We started this journey few months back, I would say almost a year, where everyone is exploring how Gen AI can help them in their day-to-day activities. We call it everyday AI actually. Parallelly, during those months, we thought of how can we leverage Gen AI into our validation and qualification space. Yeah. In general, when I did some research, the biggest benefit of AI and Gen AI for human and mankind is in drug discovery and development. As a pharma industry, even we are a science and technology company, I work with teams where even we are evaluating this, how we can streamline and simplify business processes. In my area as well, we came up with a target and an objective to streamline and reduce overall validation effort at least by 30%. And I would say we are nearly there. We are nearly there. So I'm working with teams where how Gen AI. So we have already devised a prototype in terms of how we can revolutionize the way we are doing validation. I would call it AI-based validation now. So how we do CSV now, we have CSA also in place, but in coming days you will see it's more AI-based validation. That's going to be future. Today we implement around 20 plus projects. We have around 60 global systems, so you can imagine the workload we carry in terms of documentations, in terms of requirements, risk assessments, test cases, the amount of change requests we file. So this is around 400 change requests, 12,000, 12 to 15,000 test cases being executed, even authored and executed every year. So today, technology has improved a lot compared to last decades, where development is done in matter of few days. Even I would say there are no code to low code environments where development is happening. I've been getting questions from every corner of the organization where why validation is taking so much time. They are ready with their prototype. They see, okay, application is configured. Now we're stuck with how we can move it into production. And this is where team approaches and come up with validation effort on top. And so this has become one of the challenges for us to reduce all this effort. And with Gen AI at our hand, we can do that. So I have working with the team where Gen AI first can be implemented for document, as you said, so documentation generation. So this is content generation. So generative AI is more content driven. So we can author validation plans, we can author change requests, we can do GXP assessments based on it. Major benefit that we see that can drive most of the benefit is during design phase. This is where we have user stories which team has. So you have a workshop, team has come up with a user story which defines the overall process. Now the SMEs struggle to convert them into requirements. This is also one of the regulatory requirements that we have. Now working out functional specifications around it. Now doing risk assessments around it. Now create test case design. This take at least months of effort, even more if you have a bigger implementation. Today, generative AI can deliver this in minutes. We have seen prototypes where a first cut of all these documents coming out of Gen AI based engine in minutes, which I would say with 50 to 60% of accuracy. And technology being improved over the period of time and with LLM models being introduced, you can see that this can go up to 80 to 90% in terms of accuracy. And there will be no time where you can just put all your user stories to this model and you have requirements, your risk assessments, and your test case generated in no time. Definitely, there is a learning curve. This is where system has to be trained in your SOPs, your templates and formats, and then also in terms of what kind of content you want to generate. There are also upside and downsides to it where system can hallucinate. So this is where you need to control the temperature of the Gen AI model, and this is where we are in initial evaluation phases where how we can do that. What we see as a part of overall CSV process, and this is only one area I'm talking about. We have periodic reviews, we have audit readiness that you can do. Yeah, so this I would say in quality there is no limit to it. You can even automate and you can have AI driven quality and compliance in future around it. And with our small step of AI based design phases, if we consider 20 projects in a year and around 60 systems, we can easily give 3 years worth of time to project teams to deliver more. So this is where you can see the value it can generate to the organization. So this is much more powerful than just every day. I mean, people are using it for emails and different templates, but when it comes to CSV, this can reduce the overall burden of documentation, even audit readiness a lot. And this is where we are embarking on a journey. Definitely, it's a learning curve. So I'm very happy that to see the initial results, but there's more to come for sure. More to come.
True. Thanks, Rahul. I think you described the entire product life cycle from requirements to creating story, test cases, audit processes, etc. So, in a nutshell, AI can be used at every stage and can reduce lot of effort, can lead to faster TTM, etc. Thanks, Rahul, for that. So, extending to that, Sachin, in your experience in the pharma industry, right? Where do you see AI can be leveraged to automate processes across enterprise systems, labs, R&D, manufacturing, as well as supply chain management? So, Sachin, what are your opinions? Where is AI being leveraged, and where do you see it will be leveraged in other stages and enterprises?
Very interesting question here. So basically, I would say in the pharma world, in CSV, we are initially exploring the various systems. We're looking how they are doing. But if I go to the other areas of pharma industry, I would see that the journey has been probably kind of couple of steps ahead. Let me go by step by step. So you asked me about enterprise applications or enterprise systems. In enterprise systems, I see there is a big use case for predictive analysis, and a lot of organizations are already doing analyzing the historical data to forecast trends and optimize resource allocations. In terms of process optimization, automating routine tasks like data entry, compliance check, reporting, this is getting quite a lot automated and reducing the human interface there. If I move to the labs, probably this is one area where a lot of data is generated, immense amount of data is generated. Then automatic data analysis is something. AI algorithms can process large data sets from experiments, identifying patterns, insights faster than the manual analysis. In terms of quality control, this is one area where I have personally executed a couple of use cases where I can monitor lab equipment and processes in real time to ensure consistent quality, reduce errors. And not only that, learning from the large language models, I have, in fact, this was about a year ago when I was working with one of the software for labs. We had an AI generated system, I'll say a ecosystem, which was analyzing the real time OTs and other errors which are generated in labs. R&D, as Rahul also mentioned, probably is one of the most exciting and the highest impacted area. I would say drug discovery, can be very much predictable or predicted based on the data you have available. It can improve. It can predict the efficacy of new compounds, accelerate the drug discovery process. And I foresee that there is a lot of work which is already being done, and I think this would be the biggest game changer in terms of impact on the pharma industry. Then clinical trials, it can optimize patient recruitment, monitor trial process. IoT enabled devices can get you the data on the real time. And then initial analysis of outcome for trial efficacy and all those things can be done. So this is brilliant. Manufacturing is another use case where I think we have moved a couple of steps beyond the initial exploration. We are using manufacturing for predictive maintenance. This is something which I have personally done. So AI can predict equipment failures before they occur, reducing downtime and maintenance costs. So one of the biggest uh, challenges which the manufacturing industry faces. Then process automation, you have IoTs and other devices you can connect together, and AI can control the manufacturing processes. Supply chain management, I would say, is the second most impacted area. Demand forecasting, logistic optimization. These two areas are heavily data dependent, and that's where I think AI brings a lot of value. I know many organizations, this is the first place where they have started using AI in terms of demand forecasting, in terms of optimizing or leveraging their different supply chain, in terms of predicting and managing their shipments, tracking them, and optimizing routes and schedules for transportation, reducing. And it has brought, you can say, it's a low hanging fruit which has brought the maximum amount of value for the organizations. So probably these are the four areas, as you asked me: enterprise, labs, R&D, and manufacturing, and then supply chain. So I would rate it like supply chain probably is the lowest hanging fruit, and then R&D would be probably the most impacted area in terms of use of AI in pharma industry.
So is it fair to say, Sachin, that supply chain management, lowest hanging fruit, but highest
High
value?
value. High
Yeah.
value. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's great, Sachin. I think for each area in terms of predictive analytics, process optimization, workflow automation, you've almost covered key pieces where AI can be leveraged for end-to-end processes in pharma industry. So moving to Harshil, so we have got a brief, I would say, context from emerging AI use cases in pharma and life science space. But Harshil, your experience has mostly been you speak with customers, say MedTech and ISV healthcare customers, where they are leveraging AI. So if you can throw some light on what kind of emerging AI use cases are this organization, developing, also in their existing workflows, what challenges do they come across when they are implementing this AI systems?
Sure. Thank you, Vidya. So, extending to what Rahul and Sachin mentioned, right, we do see the AI getting into mainstream in other areas of healthcare as well. If you see last year, there was around 133% surge in the number of AI-enabled medical devices getting approved by FDA, with radiology being the highest invested area from a modality standpoint. Then there are a lot of digital health innovators coming up with a large number of use cases, be it CDSS or risk prediction, etc. Ambient sound is another area which is getting a lot of areas. However, when I talk about challenges from an organization standpoint, there are lots. There is problem with skill development, evolving regulations with respect to FDA, EU AI acts. Also, there is the post operations and post production issues which typically come up. But predominantly, right, if I have to ask someone, or if I a couple of challenges which the any organization which have to watch out for is cost and workflow disruptions. What I have personally seen is, and in fact, this is a very recent use case wherein a practice had actually implemented a AI model for patients to have a show no show kind of a categorization, and they did it for their optimization when where basically they wanted to go back and see maybe double book a particular slot in case there is a no show. However, in a couple of weeks, they understood that it's a wrong way of dealing it. There was disparity in their care, etc. And then there was a sense wherein they used the same algorithm to actually identify patients who will come as no show, and then proactively reach out to them. So my point here is there are algorithms which basically, if they seamlessly integrate with existing workflows, then the chances of them catering to multiple stakeholders are higher, At the same time, adding to any burden to healthcare providers and systems would be less. So that's predominantly my take on the set of challenges and the use cases.
Thanks, Arshil. It's great to know that the AI models can be entered into existing workflows without lot of changes and can add value in their existing healthcare workflows. You spoke about challenges. So it's often said that data is the new oil, especially in context of AI and healthcare. Could you share your thoughts on how critical the role is on training the data when it plays or when it comes to AI use cases in healthcare? Specifically, how does the quality, diversity, and volume of training data impact not only the performance of AI models but also the broader regulatory landscape?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So, predominantly, right, it's a well established say that training data has a big role in the way model selection is happening, or training data set, training processes, or biasness. So, training data plays a big role. Now, if you have a poor quality data set, the models typically gets into an underfitting, where basically you have models which are oversimplified, who may not be able to identify relevant data patterns. At the same time, if you have a training data set which is very well specialized and granularized in some ways, right, then you have a problem of overfitting, where the model actually becomes totally dependent on the data set and may not be able to generalize itself on newer data. And the reason why I'm pointing that out is because in healthcare, training data set is the biggest challenge. And there are multiple reasons for that. There is privacy, there is the lack of digitization in low and middle income countries. Then you typically have um, the way in which healthcare data is captured, right? Because typically once you get into a hospital, if there is an incident, then the data is usually captured. So there are all of these challenges coming up. Furthermore, when it comes to healthcare organizations, they have one more considerations to capture, especially in the medical device OEMs and the ISV space, is basically they have to accommodate the intended use and the modification phase. So, for example, let's take there is a pediatric population, and I want to introduce them to a model which was earlier intended for 18 plus or above. Or let's take there is a model which is for lesion detections, and we are expanding the scope to now cover different cancer types. Now, in this case, the training data set plays a big role. Otherwise, there will be errors and biasness which will come in. So what I lastly, right, what I wanted to mention from a training data set is basically it needs to resemble the model in which it will be placed. Basically, lack of diverse data, as you mentioned about age, ethnicity, etc., will result into lesser generalization and accuracy as well. In fact, uh, recently, right, in my recent Stanford University has just published a report which says that 71% of patient data or training data for diagnostic tools in US comes only from 3 states. So these kind of challenges will play a bigger role, and it's a challenging world, but I think organizations are finding ways, and in recent times, and maybe there is a lot of way to go for organization when it comes to training data sets.
Yeah. Thanks, Arshil. Data does play an important role when it comes to accuracy, and you also spoke about intended use and some regulatory changes which comes into place when you are training the data set. So, having said that, Rahul, you know how people are all the healthcare organizations, be it in pharma, life science, medtech, every space. The development of AI experimentation is huge. Everyone is doing that. So, how are organizations adapting to both global and local regulatory changes? So, including the latest developments around EU AI Act, right? Everyone is talking about that. So, in your expertise, what are the best practices and strategies which will be effective for organization navigating this regulatory updates?
Definitely, Vidya. So this is going to be a challenge actually. So with the trends around AI and the usage, which is now booming across different domains within healthcare, and different regulatory bodies like EU AI Act is coming into play, and it's just a beginning, as I said. So EU is coming with an AI, and soon there will be other regulatory agencies introducing different versions of it for their own geographies, and it will be difficult to even monitor what are the use cases or the usage of AI growing up in nook and corner of any organization. It was like a GDPR, which started a few years back, and now we have different offices and various roles which were established. So similarly, in my opinion, this should be addressed in a very pragmatic way. I'll take an example of people, process, and technology here. So definitely, this calls for a new organization. This is something around AI governance and compliance office. I call it this way, or this could be AI compliance officer who takes the responsibility to monitor every implementation of AI within their organization. Yeah. Today with EU AI Act, they come up with different risk levels, yeah, in terms of how we are using AI practices, AI in our business. So the use of AI for drug discovery to drug development to even medical equipment, it varies actually, yeah, from low to high. And also the monitoring and governance around should be accordingly done. So for me, it's very important to have all these use cases pass through a filter where an organization should understand what kind of use cases and the risk that every use case carries, and then it should be a go and no go decision. So this is like a decision matrix or a decision body which provides a go ahead for any use case that is being implemented. I talked about in validation space where yes, the risk is low in terms of first of all, important for us is that the content that we generate in validation space, it has to be reviewed by any SME. We cannot just directly implement into business. Yeah? So there should also be mechanisms where how you are addressing those risk areas. Definitely, this is new now, but if I talk about future, it could be where we have AI integrated into our processes. The monitoring, human monitoring could be low based on various factors. We'll come to it when we talk about matrices. Yeah. So first is more people side of things. So AI governance office or a certain AI compliance officer who establishes these. This is a governing body which established, which creates the processes around in the organization. So training comes into play where every individual in the organization should know about these AI. So it should not be working in silo. So this is where if I have a use case, I should know that okay, this goes according to EU AI or even other regulatory agencies, which they have, if there are any restrictions or not. Definitely, it will go to the compliance office for sure. But every individual should know what are the different regulations coming across around these engagements. Second is we also need to build some kind of a regulatory intelligence, I would say. So this is just the beginning. It will change. There will be adoption of an update of these regulations that will follow. This is normal. This happens every time. So how these changes will impact already running instances of your use cases or implementation in the organization. So keeping a tab on all these changes and also do some kind of an impact assessment on already existing use cases or implementations that you have in the organization. And third one is more technology. So definitely we can also leverage AI to help us doing all these tasks. So also some kind of a technology implementation where even AI can help us to maintain the compliance within the organization will definitely be an important around
Yeah. I think that's great, Rahul. The few highlights from your answer is having a decision matrix, not working in silos, validating, having a change matrix, and of course compliance. How you can automate within using AI itself is something which is very crucial for any organization while navigating the regulatory updates. So, in the second part of this webinar, say compliance, we have gone through the training data considerations via Harshal. We have seen the compliance. But searching for you, the question is okay, as medical AI applications increase in complexity and scope, what about scalability and sustainability? It's going to become a critical challenge. So, what strategies, Sachin, you recommend for organizations to effectively scale and sustain AI solutions across life science and healthcare industry?
Yeah, that's an important question because we have been talking AI is good, AI is disruptive, AI is fantastic. But the questions which organizations would ask is, how do I go about it? So I would recommend them a 7 step strategy. The first step would be develop a comprehensive AI roadmap. Means start small, scale fast, and think big. Start with a small, identify and prioritize pilot projects, which can give you quick wins, so that you can build confidence with your stakeholders and then scale implementation across the organization. Also, it is very important to outline the plans to evolve AI applications over time, starting with low risk use cases, because we are in pharma world, we are heavily regulated industry. So I would recommend an organization to start with low risk use cases and then move on to the more complicated and mature and probably disruptive solution, something which completely changes the way you do your business. Second step would be bring a strong financial technical foundation. By building a strong technical foundation, I mean establish a robust data architecture. First of all, you have to create a blueprint for small and optimized data management so that you can overcome inadequate IT infrastructure. What do you need from infrastructure? How the interoperability operability will work. Second part of is you need to standardize your data flows. You have to standardize your data starting from probably, like for example, in clinical data, you need to use the OMOP, common data model or similar kind of things. And third, and one of very important is that if you have big AI movement plans in your strategy, you need to partner with AI providers, sign contract with multiple AI generative foundation model providers to experiment and understand how their performance is different. Like for your literature and for your text generation, probably one of the AI is predictive, or perplexity can be better for something, chat gpt can be better for something, copilot can be better. There would not be a model which fits all. You have to sign contracts with them. Third step, and this in my opinion would be one of the most important steps, would be you need to foster cross functional collaboration. What it means is create centralized AI teams. The team should not work in silos. Everybody should come together, bring together data scientists, bring and make them sit with the business function leaders, understand their challenges, and then collaboratively they should plan and execute the AI strategy in a centralized manner. AI is something which always depends on large language models, big data, data lakes, and all. And that can only be possible when you have centralized AI teams. Second step of cross-functional collaboration would be engage your stakeholders across departments. That means involve representations from R&D, manufacturing, supply chain, and other areas to ensure AI solutions address diverse needs. They cannot be individual or singular workflow automations. This is not RPA. This is AI. And when you talk of AI, it means overall overhaul, overhaul of the process using artificial intelligence, and it requires buy-in from all your stakeholders. Fourth step would be prioritize talent and partnerships. Aggressively recruit AI because you are as good as your technical team. Given the shortage of expertise, companies should build in their in-house AI capabilities. I can give you an example. My own company has established a full BI university, which has amazing amount of partnership with all the big course providers and in-house expertise. And at this point of time, there is a large amount of employees in our organizations who are at various stages of understanding AI, learning AI, and contributing to it. Second step would be, since you cannot have in-house everything, you need to collaborate with external vendors like your own company, Tata Elxsi, and other providers who can supplement our internal capabilities to accelerate the AI adoption. Fifth step would be, once you have done all these 4 steps, I think that's where you need to focus on high impact use cases. Again, I will say low risk, high impact. You can identify internal cost and value drivers, see what are the biggest problem. Somebody told me, if you want to be successful, make your boss look good in front of his boss. So identify what is the biggest challenge as a company we are facing, which one of them can be AI use cases, and when you deliver that, not only you save money, you get a lot of buying from your different stakeholders. Because whenever you are making a change, there'll be people who will be resisting the change. There'll be people who will be not willing to go for that change. But when they see an impact, they you know would come with you. And also, The sixth step would be ensure ethical and regulatory compliance. I think Rahul talked extensively about it, but I think it is very important to establish your guardrails, how your AI will work, how are you going to be compliant with regulations, and also from ethical perspective. Not only because it's a law, it's very important that we implement appropriate controls to ensure that we are ethically and regulatory compliant. And the last and one of the most important things, as we say, Gen AI is as good as its language learning model. That means it's a generative AI, means you generate based and you learn based on you do. So accordingly, in your AI strategy, I would say the seventh step should be you should promote continuous learning and improvement. You should have a good infrastructure wherein you learn from other industries, learn from other players in your industry, and then you invest heavily on ongoing education, because there is going to be a huge lack of people resources, huge lack of technological resources, and then you have to continuously upskill your own employees to keep pace with the rapidly evolving AI technology. So, in my opinion, these would be seven pillars of the strategy to move into AI and move your organization effectively there.
I think that's a great answer, Sachin. Our audience now has a seven-step framework to make sure that their AI initiatives, how to sustain them, how to scale them, and what are the key steps when they implement, including the ethical considerations, guardrails, continuous learning, culture change, when you spoke about not working in silos and all of it. So I think that's a great answer. I think by with this we covered the second part of our webinar, that is compliance. We have spoken about the data challenges. We spoke about innovation, emerging use cases in learning. But now the main answers, something which I haven't seen a lot of healthcare organization talking about. So people are implementing AI use cases across the industry in healthcare. But what about the success? Are we measuring whether this AI initiatives are adding value or not? What are the different types of matrix when it comes to when it comes to an understanding? Okay, this AI initiative is adding value. It's not adding value, just finish it off and take some other use case. So those kind of decisions are the healthcare organizations making or not? So that is the third piece which we'll touch upon. So starting with you, Rahul, in context of VQT, you spoke about a lot of emerging use cases. But in when you are automating your processes, what key matrix would you prioritize to monitor and assess the success of AI integration in the VQT processes?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I will I'll talk come to VQT even in general. So when we talk about matrices and analytics, I've seen people directly jumping into a lot of data, that can be generated out of it, and most of them they forget the first step actually. Yeah. So just want to remind everyone the one, and for me, one of the most important step is to establish internal benchmarks. We should have a human, so if we talk about AI, we should have a human benchmark recorded today. This is where you can record your matrices on. Otherwise you don't have any benchmark, then these matrices you cannot compare them against. Yeah? And this is where you can also deliver and showcase the value generated in the organization. So this is why it's very important for me to have my internal benchmarks created. And this is where we talked about what kind of value we generated in terms of time savings, cost savings. Yeah. So first one is more accuracy. So this is where how we can establish the working model of AI, the precision actually, precision of AI versus the human effort that we are, or human benchmark that we have today. So this is where we have to showcase what accuracy that this AI carries, yeah, in terms of if a human is doing a task versus how now AI is handling it. Second is more efficiency in terms of what is the time reduction time that we see in terms of any activity we are doing. If I come to validation and quality space, this is something how much time an SME is taking in terms of creating a set of requirements from user stories versus now when we have AI in place. Yeah, definitely, AI won't give you 100% outcome, but at least for me, if it gives 60% as a draft, it's just a matter where I review it and fill 30 to 40% on top. Similarly, we don't have to start with test cases today from scratch. Our Gen AI model gives us test cases draft based on the user requirements or the stories that we have created, and we rather review and update them together with the SMEs. Yeah. So this is where we also need to showcase the efficiency. The important is to record all these parameters in appropriate dashboard to show the value generated. Definitely, higher management wants to see how much we are generating in terms of cost savings versus how much we have invested for these kind of Gen AI models that in the organization. And this is where we can also have a commercial overview in terms of time savings, in terms of cost savings. Today we target that what today I want to establish, or we are establishing a metric in terms of number of projects that we used to deliver versus number of projects we will take over in a given time frame because of Gen AI models that we have in place today. This is the biggest value that I can see. Every implementation that we carry, it has a business benefit around it. Yeah, in terms of cost, I would say cost savings is only one parameter. But imagine with the same effort, if I can deliver 5 implementations versus 3 earlier, these two business implementation will have a bigger value in terms of not just the person hour that we are saving, but a business value towards the organization. So this is where we need to establish the value in not just the person man hour saving or person hour saving, but the value the business has generated based on the effort or number of implementations we have carried. Yeah. One of the most important matrices also is in the same direction. The question you asked previously is about regulatory compliance. However, all implementations, so it could be a green light versus red light, where, okay, are we green all the time in terms of all the changes in the compliance and regulations that has happened around AI, and it has to stay green all the time. So there should be always a metric and a check that, okay, all my 100 use cases, they have a green light in terms of having all my compliance matrices met. And definitely in the user adoption rate, data quality improvement, the scalability. So let's say this is endless, but these are the ones I would say are the key metrics that, in my opinion, should be there.
That's great. You touched upon cost savings, time savings, business value. Compliance was a great matrix to make sure that your AI system is compliant and it's always showing green. I think this matrix are essential in any process, and I agree to almost all the matrix which you mentioned. So, Sachin, in your opinion, in context of CSV validation, what key matrix would you prioritize to assess the success of AI integration?
I think Rahul has touched upon most of the ones. I'll just reiterate in my words and probably add a few there. So, of course, the first one for us would be the efficiency metrics. How much is the processing time to complete validation task compared to the manual process. Then the second would be resource utilization. Have we even been able to decrease the human hours required for validation activities? Say you're writing a URS. So typically, a URS for a mid scale application would take a couple of months, and using AI, if you can create a URS in couple of hours using right prompts, and then people refine it to the business case. That's something which I would like to matrix, a matrix to be measured. Then validation coverage. Probably I would like to see what is the percentage of system functionalities and data points validated by AI compared to the traditional methods. Then accuracy, I think Rahul talked about it, so I'll not go too much in detail about it. But yes, I think I would like to keep a track of what is the error detection rate of my AI model or AI enabled validation tools. Then what are my false positive negative test data integrity score, very very important for me. I would probably throw my URS to the AI and say, can you can you assess this URS, have I covered everything from a data integrity score? And then probably later down the line I can ask AI that, have I tested enough of data integrity? So those kind of scores, what AI produces for me, that is something to be tracked. Compliance matrix is something very very important for me. Audit trail completeness, document quality, how many iterations of document review happened before and after AI would be an interesting matrix to be produced. Then regulatory adherence, and then next would be risk management matrices. Risk management matrices in the sense of what is the risk identification accuracy. using AI model before and after. Then predictive maintenance effectiveness, one of the most important use cases if you ask me from a CSP perspective. At this point of time, the predictive maintenance happens normally manually or we do a based on limited data set. Can AI help me to improve my predictive maintenance effectiveness? And then at the end of the day, it's all the business, you know, be it pharma or anything. Everybody, the bosses wants to make money. So how much ROI I have generated in terms of financial benefits? When I was selling my first digitalization project to my senior most management, I think I just presented one slide. This is before and this is after, and this is the amount of ROI I will generate. And I got a project approval in 24 minutes flat. So that's probably one of the important metrics for us to calculate. And then one important thing is that how do we measure our scalability? How fast we are able to scale and move? And last but not the least, or rather, I will say the most important from a sustainability perspective is what is my user adoption and their satisfaction? Probably, people like Rahul, me, we can go gaga about AI and how wonderful it is and everything. But we need to measure that how many projects are moving to AI, see how many CSP projects are moving to AI. Is my end user of QA and a tester willing to adopt it? What is their satisfaction percentage? Are my developers happy that their user stories are being converted into user requirement specifications? So that is something I would like to track a percentage of team members actively using AI powered validation tools and user satisfaction score. First adoption and then their satisfaction score. That should continuously grow as a matrix for me to be to a successful adoption of AI.
Yeah, I think between Rahul and Sachin, we have list of metrics which every organization and in the audience can take a note of it, and they can build dashboards around it. So be it data integrity, URL, you spoke about audit compliance, iterations, user satisfaction score. So a lot of metrics coming in picture from AI initiative implementation. I think we have a complete list. Whoever is listening in the audience can note down all the matrices. So Harshil, coming to you, what kind of dashboards and what kind of metrics are people, monitoring in medtech space, in healthcare and ISV space? What do you think is different or actor specific? If you want to throw some light on that.
No, I agree. Between the way the list of matrices which you mentioned by Rahul and details given by Sachin, right? But coming to the other verticals of healthcare, of course, there are different business requirements. So, for instance, if I talk about hospitals, so the provider organization, you would see them measuring their success in terms of, say, mortality, readmission, length of stay, human error, cost, etc. But if I try to abstract it up further, right, and maybe at an organizational level matrices, maybe one more thing which I'd like to add to that particular list is the explainability of the AI model. Because as you know, right, people don't sue computers, they can sue an organization or a particular clinician or a stakeholder. So that's where the explainability of AI becomes a lot more important, and the ability for us to drill down to an underlying issue to take a decision, all of those. One thing which I'd like to add here is in the recent past, right, there have been a lot of frameworks and basically governance models and healthcare oriented frameworks which have been published by a lot of leading organizations. So if you see, Stanford has published their firm assessment. There are a lot of open source communities which have published Future AI, Moon AI, all of these frameworks, right, which basically allow the organizations to learn and extend it as per their usage as well. So there's a lot happening in this space, but from a matrices and KPI standpoints, all of these are relevant for us and all the stakeholders.
That's true. That's true. So, you spoke about few frameworks which organizations can leverage out of box to develop this dashboard. I think that's a very good point too. And explainability of AI, definitely. That's a key metric which we have to track. So, we have covered innovation, we have covered compliance, and we have covered matrix. So thank you everyone. Thank you Rahul, Sachin and Harshal for sharing your valuable insights with us today. Your inputs has given us clearer understanding of key AI use cases in pharma, life science, medtech, and ISV industry as well. We have strategies. There was a seven-step strategy as well for sustainable and scalable AI. We spoke about compliance from global and local regulatory changes, and we also spoke about matrices. We spoke about data biasness. Harshal, thank you for that. And main and very important, the matrix. As I said, not many people are talking about it, but we now have a list of matrices from this webinar. So thank you for all the insights. A big thank you to our audience as well. It has been pleasure having you all with us. We hope you found this session both useful and insightful. As mentioned earlier, feel free to submit any additional questions you have. We'll be sending the Q&A report and a link to webinar recording via email in a coming days, so you can revisit the session at your convenience. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone for listening to us. And it was good talking to Harshal and of course to you, Rahul. Thank you. And thank you, Vidya, for moderating this panel so well. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks from my side as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harshal.